Once upon a time, in a peaceful village near a bright and colorful forest, there lived a kind woodcutter and his two children, Hansel and Gretel. The family was simple, hardworking, and loving, but times were tough. Food was scarce, and the woodcutter often worried about how he would feed his children. Still, Hansel and Gretel stayed cheerful, always playing together and supporting their father with hope in their hearts. One sunny morning, their father asked them to join him in the forest while he collected firewood. Hansel and Gretel eagerly agreed, excited for the small adventure. Their father prepared a small bag of bread for them and reminded them to stay close and be brave. As they walked deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller, the air cooler, and the sunlight danced playfully through the leaves. The forest was beautiful, colorful flowers, singing birds, and friendly animals watching curiously. Hansel, being clever, dropped small pieces of bread behind him to make a path back home. Gretel smiled proudly at her brother's smart thinking and held his hand tightly. But after a while, they realized the birds of the forest had eaten every last crumb. When they looked behind, their path had completely vanished. Hansel and Gretel tried to stay calm. "Don't worry," Hansel whispered. "As long as we are together, we will find our way." Hours passed as they walked, until suddenly they smelled something sweet, something warm, sugary, and delicious. Gretel's eyes widened. "Hansel, do you smell that?" They followed the magical scent through sparkling bushes until they reached a clearing, and there stood the most amazing house they had ever seen. It was a small cottage made entirely of candy. The walls were chocolate brown, the windows were sparkling sugar. The roof was covered in colorful jelly beans, and the door looked like a giant cookie. The candy house glowed softly under the sunlight, as if inviting them inside. Hansel touched the candy railing and said, "Gretel, it's real." Gretel giggled and broke a tiny piece of the sugar window. "It tastes amazing." The children, hungry and tired, began nibbling gently on the candy decorations. Suddenly, the door opened with a soft creak, and an old but friendly woman came out. Her eyes were warm, and her smile was gentle. "My dear children," she said kindly, "you look tired and hungry. Don't be afraid. Come inside and rest." Hansel and Gretel hesitated, but felt safe because the lady spoke softly and kindly. Inside the cottage, the table was set with warm bread, fruit, and fresh milk. After eating, they curled up in cozy beds with soft blankets. For the first time that day, they felt safe. The next morning, the old woman asked them to help with simple chores, picking berries, sweeping the cottage, and feeding the birds outside. Hansel and Gretel worked together happily. They laughed, played, and explored the magical forest around the candy house. The lady treated them kindly and gently, as if they were her own grandchildren. But after a few days, Gretel noticed something strange. The old lady looked lonely, deeply lonely. She always sat by the window, watching the forest with sad eyes. One evening, Gretel finally asked, "Grandma, why do you look so sad?" The lady sighed softly. I built this candy house so children who got lost in the forest could find help. But it has been many, many years since anyone came. I often feared I would be alone forever. Hansel and Gretel looked at each other, their hearts filled with sympathy. Gretel held the lady's hand and said, "You're not alone anymore. We're here." Hansel nodded, "And we will help you whenever you need us." The lady's eyes filled with happy tears. She hugged them gently. From that day on, she wasn't lonely anymore. Hansel, Gretel, and the kind old lady became like a little family. They cooked together, sang songs, watered the candy garden, and welcomed travelers who passed by the forest. One morning, the children heard a voice calling their names. It was their father searching for them. Hansel and Gretel ran to him joyfully. The woodcutter hugged them tightly, tears of relief falling from his eyes. He had searched everywhere, praying his children were safe. When he met the kind old lady and saw the candy cottage, he thanked her deeply for protecting his children. She simply smiled and said, "Kindness grows when it is shared." Hansel and Gretel returned home with their father, but they continued visiting the candy cottage often. The forest became a place of friendship, sweetness, and happy memories, and the old lady was never lonely again. Hansel, Gretel, and their father lived happily, always remembering that courage, kindness, and family are the true treasures of every adventure.